in the path of yoga, is it necessary or essential for that vegetarian food? It's a very small and common question, sir.
Well, generally speaking, yes, it would be helpful, because just as the mind influences what we do also influences the mind. So it's a two-way relationship. And therefore, a vegetarian diet would help, especially if done with the right attitude, because vegetarian diets are adopted for three primary reasons. One is for health reasons. That will not contribute much to the spiritual aspects of what we eat. The second is for ecological reasons, uh, because the vegetarian diets are much more eco-friendly. If one does it with full awareness of the harmony which should exist in the creation, and trying to correct the imbalance which human beings have created, it will have some spiritual element to it. The third reason is that one wants to avoid pain to other living beings, and one can assume that in the process of getting killed, the animal did suffer. So if it is the thought for not inflicting pain, then it will have a greater spiritual purpose. It all depends on the motive. And if one does it with that, then the mind is influencing what we eat, and then what we eat will influence the mind. Because if the mind is working in that direction, but then one, for the sake of the sensory pleasure of the palate, one continues taking a non-vegetarian diet, the a person will not feel easy. He'll feel uneasy, that because there'll be a conflict between what the person knows what is right, and at the same time is doing what is not right for the sake of a sensory pleasure. So that will create great uneasiness. That is what the conflict between the psychic being and what we are doing will bring out, and that's how the person will feel uneasy. Uh, uh, and since there is some time, maybe I can share with you an anecdote, and maybe that can be the last. How did I turn vegetarian? I didn't eat too much meat. I didn't relish it too much, but then for social reasons, I continued eating it till I was about 45. And the social reasons, you can justify everything. That if I go to a party, I'll not be a nuisance. I'll eat whatever is made available. If I go to a Western country where vegetarian food is not available, I'll have no difficulty. If I get guests, I'll be able to offer them what they like, and so on. So, you can always justify everything. So, uh, I was not strictly speaking a vegetarian till I was about 45. Then, there was a conference organized at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences on vegetarian diets, and I was asked to speak on how vegetarian diets can help prevent cancer. I studied the topic, I was going to speak on it, but then I thought that if I'm going to speak on this topic and I'm a non-vegetarian, I'll not feel good. That's when I gave up. That's how I stopped having stopped having a non-vegetarian diet. And then I got some further encouragement, as well as some uh, very startling anecdote during the closing function of that conference. For the closing function, the chief guest was Dr. L.M. Singhvi, who was not only a reputed jurist, but was also a diplomat. He was the High Commissioner of India to England for quite a few years, Dr. L.M. Singhvi. He was the chief guest at the closing function, and he said that when he, as a young boy, was studying law in England, one day he heard a knock on the door, and he was staying in an apartment as a student, and at the door were a middle-aged British couple who asked whether they could come in. Naturally, he would say, "Please come in." And they looked rather sad. They said that we had only one son, and he has committed suicide. And in the suicide note, he has said that if it is essential to eat meat to stay alive, I don't want to live. We have heard that you are a vegetarian. We don't know how to cook vegetarian food. Please, can you teach us a few recipes? Because in memory of our son, we want to turn vegetarian. Now, this was a very telling anecdote in the sense that it showed that, of course, this was a common belief in England those days, that you cannot live on a purely vegetarian diet. So the boy just acted on that belief, believing that it is completely true, which is not true. But all the same, the boy believed in it. But then his psychic being told him that if this is so, then I need not live. And he acted on that voice, which means it has really nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with what people around you are doing. an exceptional individual can take action and listen to that voice of the psychic being, irrespective of everything else. And that is what this boy had done. And then his parents also wanted to do the same in his memory. So this was a very telling anecdote. And so I felt that it's good that I turned vegetarian before the closing function, before speaking in the conference, I turned vegetarian. I was very happy. And Dr. Singhvi said one more thing, that anyone who has been a vegetarian since birth because his parents were vegetarian has perhaps not done as difficult a thing as those who have been non-vegetarians for a long time and then given up meat. So that way, I got a little pat on the back also.